Okay, so this is the presentation I'm going to be talking about today is how do you create a customer getting website specifically for SMEs and entrepreneurs, because that's who we are right here. We are entrepreneurs and many of us are SMEs. So the potential for website these days can no longer be ignored. Take a look at some of these websites. You may recognize some of these brands. Bankaholic, okay, there's TC is TechCrunch, Mint.com, Huffington Post, and Business.com. All these websites were sold for millions and millions of dollars. I'd like to bring your attention to actually Bankaholic. Now, Bankaholic was started from a one-man team. Okay, just one guy who wanted to talk about his interest in credit cards. So he wrote a blog, started to write about different credit cards, and therefore he ranked so well for all of the credit card terms that he got bought over for $15 million. And when he was done with his website, he had only one other assistant. Very, very good return on investment there again. Now for Mint.com was started in 2007. Okay, then afterwards, in just a short 2 years later, they were sold for a cool $170 million. I don't know about you, but I really do wish that in 2 years' time also, well, all of us will be along that way to 170 million in 2 years' time. Now, some of you may be wondering, how does all this information apply to you? What we want to do is we want to analyze what these websites are already doing and apply them to your own websites. Namely, what you want to do, first of all, you need to have a content management system. Okay, it's just for consistency on your website, and also you can also manage your content. That's why it's called content management system. The other thing is you want to have great content for your target audience. Now, Eric Schmidt from Google, he's the Google CEO, he actually mentioned that now these days, there's too much information on the internet. Okay, that's why people are looking to brands for their content. So each and every single one of you can actually be the potential brand that your customers are looking forward to. So your content that you're going to put out there is not just for anybody, it's for your audience. Your audience wants to hear your point of view from your content and what you are saying. So the next thing you want to do, of course, you want to have continuous growth with lots of users. Your content can help that, and of course through many other ways. So each of these are all interlinked with each other. Now, how can a small business stand a fighting chance against the big boys out there? Now, the answer is in the following slide. It's not going to be obvious, so do pay attention. All right? So these are the three phases of a customer getting website for SMEs and entrepreneurs. Now, to make things easy for you, okay, to be able to understand this, think of it as planning for a party. So phase number one, you have to get ready for the party. Okay, this is part we're going to get a little bit techy. Yeah? So first of all, as mentioned again, there's content management systems. This is just so that all your content is in structured locations. Now, even if you're very familiar with your content, how to create your own website, I do not recommend you do that, because over the long term, you may forget where certain links are, and therefore, you may mess up. Okay, so use a content management system to keep your content all in one location. Next thing, you want to have a design that is clean and there's a lot of white space. Now, reading on a paper, reading on newspapers or whatever is a very different experience from reading on a screen. Reading on paper, it's okay if you have a huge chunks of a lot of text, but when you're reading on screen, you need a lot of white text and white space, so that it's easy for the eyes to read. Also, there's different styles that's also important. Of course, you need to do something professional. Now, mobile friendly and responsive. This is important because the growth of mobile phones is just going to keep growing. Okay, I'm sure every one of you may have more than one phone. Some of you may have more than one phone, but even if you have one phone, you may have another tablet. Okay, so the use of mobile devices is only going to grow. So your website has to be responsive, and being responsive simply means you save a little bit of money because you have one design that will just change the layout based on the device that your audience is looking at. And of course, you need to be intuitive and have some basic UX. What this means is basic user experience. What this means, for example, if you have a chunk of text and you see one of those text is blue colored with underline, intuitively you know it's a link. Okay, when you see it's a link, so you naturally want to click it. So these are the very basic stuff that you want to pay attention to. For example, some people make the mistake of using pictures as links. Some users don't know that there's a picture, because on top of that picture, there's another picture that is not a clickable link, and therefore your users don't know it's supposed to be clicked at. So these are some basic user experience that you need to make sure that you don't infringe upon. Now, of course, you want to have your content to speak to an audience of one. Why? Because whenever someone comes to your website and get to know about your website, it's always through one person at a time. It is through one phone at a time, one tablet at a time, one screen at a time. Rarely have you ever used a laptop. Hey bro, come, let me show you this website. You 2 or 3 people look at the screen at one time. It's always one at a time. So speak to one each time for your content. Next thing, you want to have your big message up front. You have no time to try to warm them up from the internet, because On the internet, people's attention span are very low, so you want to hit them fast from the very beginning. So use the inverse pyramid, speak your strongest message from the front. Now, this is very important. Avoid writing some comedy or humor in your content. Avoid sounding smart. Why? Because let's say when I'm in front of you, I can tell you a joke, and because of my body language and my tonality, you get the joke. But if you read jokes itself, most of the time the joke, you just, you don't really laugh. So you lose that kind of feel. So you want to avoid that, and you want to avoid writing smart content also. Not because the people on the internet are dumb, but really because smart, you tend to lose the meaning of it, of what you're trying to convey. So always write content that's direct to your target audience. Of course, you naturally want to have your contact information, and because we have contact information, these days you need to have social media information as well. So people need to be able to contact you through social media through many different ways. Now, important, you want to be able to capture all these leads. So your website needs to have all this information to get, this is just getting ready. And one important thing is you need to have analytical data capture software such as analytics and heat mapping on your website. This is so where you can see when people come to your website, where are they clicking, where are they not clicking, where are they paying attention to, and where are they not. So this will actually help to improve your website. Second phase. It's not a party without people, okay? So you can have the best looking website, but nobody is coming. That's, you need to start inviting some people to your website. So first of all, if you have existing customers, please do not neglect your existing customers. Reach out to them, bring them back to your website, tell them about what you have, because a lot of businesses tend to neglect their existing customers. That's actually, you've already brought them in, they have tried your products, don't leave them alone, all right? Next thing you want to do is of course, have good content marketing strategy just to keep letting them know what you're up to. You have, of course, search engine optimization. This is a very important thing. You need to email your leads, okay? This is what I mentioned earlier. Of course, social media. Now, if you have done all these things, of course, and you think it's a bit slow, you need to do paid media. So grab all these people and put them into a private conversation via email. Now, after that, it's not time to relax just yet. This is the third phase. When you're done with this, you want to have periodic backup for your and security for website, because bad things do happen to good websites. You want to split test your content as well. You want to be reselling those who did not take up your offer. So those who didn't take up your offer the first time round, try to resell them with a different angle. Next thing you want to do, you want to thank your customers and visitors publicly. Now, a lot of websites do not do this. If you do it, you get extra bonus brownie points. Respond to feedback and fix problems. Now, your problematic customers are actually your best customers because they give you the feedback to fix. So most of the time, people who are unhappy, they just keep quiet. But people who tell you about the problems, pay attention to them and see where you can fix that. Next thing, when you find more opportunities to serve the target market, create, of course, more amazing content to serve your market. Now, of course, you want to interact with your audience through social media. Don't just be like the people who just use social media, blast to all the social medias, and then afterwards you leave your people who are asking you questions alone. For example, if someone on Twitter, hey man, I like your content, what's up? Then your conversation, you just leave him alone. So it's like, hey, what's up? Okay, awkward silence. That happens on the digital space as well. So don't do that to your digital friends, okay? So you want to create something sellable. This is just so you can leverage that content. Now, remember this question, how can small businesses stand a fighting chance against the big boys? There's many chances. Whatever I covered just now, actually they all apply, all right? But the one crucial thing that actually stands out is that all of you here have one thing they don't have, is you have speed. Because you do not have to go through approval layers like a lot of the big companies do. You have the speed, you can make use of what you have learned today and apply them to your businesses and websites straight away. Okay, so have you any questions? Thank you very much. That's all for my presentation. Yeah, we're very fast. So any questions?
Questions, anyone?
What is split testing?
Split testing, okay, let me try that again. Okay, what is split testing? Split testing basically means you take the same content and you find out which one your customers prefer. For example, if you have the same headline, let's say for example in the cosmetics area, so you say flawless skin versus youthful skin. So you find out which one your customers are responding better to. So you find the one that they respond better to and you keep that. That's split testing. All right, any other question? Maybe I do a very good job, huh? Okay, so if there's no other questions, yes.
How fast can you do our website?
The website, the fastest I've done is actually in 1 day. Of course, that's after gathering all the information. How fast, technically speaking, setting a website within 1 day is more than enough. Actually, 4 hours I also can finish. It's just getting all the content up ready. That's all we need. Yeah.
I'm asking all the technical questions, so where's the server located? if I were to set up a website with you?
Server can be located everywhere. Basically, there's a lot of resellers on the internet itself. It doesn't be expensive. So you can have their local servers, their overseas servers. It really depends actually. It depends on what you're willing to pay up for.
What's your personal preference?
My personal preference actually for a website, actually each month about $10 more than enough. Unless you happen to have a website that's growing very, very well, then you start to go to all the different like VPS and dedicated servers. But most of the time, at the beginning, $10 a month is more than enough. More than enough. More than enough.
For $10 a month server, right? How many people can you support?
That actually is how many people can support. It depends on how much data you're transmitting. Yeah. So how many people support is actually a very hard question, because if your website sends a lot of pictures versus a website that's just mostly text, the one that has more pictures will of course take up more space. Yeah. So that's why it really depends on what you have on your website.
How much time do you have?
Is it very costly if, let's say, like for my case, for example, I have an e-commerce and I want to tie up my e-commerce to maybe my POS system? Is this a very costly thing?
Naturally, because when it comes to linking up, these are actually different systems. So getting them to link up through different APIs and different languages will require different technical expertise. So sometimes there will be additional cost simply just to make sure that they link up properly and there's no problems. That's really the big difference. And that's the reason why also sometimes when linking up to the different POS systems cost extra, because it's not a simple website stuff, and it's always linked to an offline site. And it's an offline server, different complications are required. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you provide any help for web security?
Web security itself, okay, what we can do is, I was mentioning earlier, we need to do periodic backup. So as long as you have a periodic backup, because if your hacker wants to really hack you, the best hackers in the world, they will kill you, unfortunately. At the end of the day, you want to have a backup of your website, so if anything bad happens, you can still bring it back. And periodic backup, that actually is your best solution to prevent any kind of hacking. Yeah.
How frequently should we back up our website?
That will depend on how often you update your content. If you update your content on a daily basis, then you should have a daily backup. But if you have like a content you update sparsely, once in a while, monthly or half a month, is also good enough already. Yep. Yes.
If I created my website through Wix, right, are you guys able to optimize the website?
Now, Wix and all these different Weebly, Wix, all these kind of things, again, they actually provide an easy way for business owners to create a website, but unfortunately, what you create is very limited. There's a lot of things you cannot do with it. If you want to customize it, you can't do much. So what I really do recommend is you create these different websites, actually put them to a different location altogether, because leading it over there, personally, I feel it's not nice for a business owner, because it looks nice, but actually it's very limited. If there are broken links, you don't know how to fix. Yeah. Yes?
Are you able to transfer from Wix to WordPress?
Wix to WordPress, there is a way, but I would still recommend to totally change over, because due to the ease of use in the long term. Because from Wix itself, there's a lot of limitations. When you port over to your own CMS, it's just a whole lot better. Really, it's my personal preference, but I really recommend it. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so if any of you want this, these slides are available there. I'm going to put maybe even the recording up there as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Alright, thank you, Angela. Now